ladies and gentlemen, let's get started. I felt like it was like a let's get ready to rumble, but that's not true. All right. So we're going to jump into our unit. We are at session 15. There are not that many sessions left, so we want to make sure that we are really on top of all of our learning outcomes. So your learning outcomes are as following. Give me a thumbs up when I say it if you feel like you are there, you've got this. I'll be able to recognize character traits based off of a story. I'll be able to determine character change. I'll be able to determine why a part was included in a story. I'll be able to determine the theme. And last but not least, I'll be able to use text details to explain my thinking. So hopefully you were able to give a couple thumbs up as you heard those. We are working on theme currently, and parts of the story we'll be getting to. So it's time for our spills. Go ahead and pause while your teachers do spills in your class, just 2 preferably, for just a few seconds. Go ahead and pause. All right, welcome back. So our connection is this. Yesterday, you learned that readers don't just look at characters to build a larger understanding of their book. They add up all the parts or elements of the story to come to a larger understanding. So all of the parts or elements to get that larger understanding, that big theme, that big idea. It's kind of like a roller coaster. If you imagine a roller coaster, it's made up of multiple parts, right? You have the carts that the people ride in. You have the track, but you also have the poles that hold the track in place. You have the nuts, you have the bolts. Everything together makes that roller coaster safe and enjoyable. Parts of a book, all those parts make that book enjoyable and interesting. Without all those parts, you can't truly understand the book, and it wouldn't be much fun to read. However, you put all those parts together, as a reader, pay attention to all of them, you're going to get the most bang for your buck out of that book. So let's go ahead and move on. Our teaching point is this. Today you will learn that readers don't just look at the pages they're on. They know that each page connects to the story that came before and the story that comes after. So each page is not its own piece. You have the entire book and all the other pages make connections. So we're going to practice doing that today. So our goal is to interpret a story by paying attention to a variety of story elements and looking at the whole story. Pay attention. Pay attention. That's what they're asking you to do, thinking of those elements. So listen carefully as I read. I want you to think, why did this passage stand out to Mrs. Barnes? He remembered that his mother had taken hold of his hand and pointed up at the sun shining through the leaves of the tree and said, "Look, Rob, I've never in my life seen a prettier color of green. Ain't it perfect?" "Yes, ma'am," he said, staring at the leaves. "It looks like the original green, the first one God ever thought up." His mother squeezed his hand hard. "That's right," she said. "The first one God ever thought up. The first ever green. You and me, we see the world the same." So what stood out to me in this paragraph? What do you think Mrs. Barnes was thinking as she read this? Just think for a few seconds. Think about what is this supposed to be teaching me? What's the big thing? The big theme, the big idea, the big lesson? Right. I feel like this passage truly shows why Rob is so sad. The author included this to really show where his sadness comes from. He was so connected to his mom in so many ways, and then she died. So that's why the author included it. So why is this part included? To really show us where Rob is coming from with his sadness. And our life lesson, my theme is this. To wait for my thing to go away, sorry. I realize that when people lose someone special to them, they may have a very hard time. Now, I kind of already knew that, but this book makes it even clearer to me. This boy, Rob, is really struggling because he's lost his mom. So I realize this, and so I need to make sure that I pay attention to that for anybody who's gone through the death of a parent or someone they really care about. So 2 things there. 1, why is this part in the book? 2, what's our life lesson, our theme, our big message I can take into the world? All right, so now it's your turn. How does this passage connect to the one we just read? Remember how we talked about pages through a book connect? And let's come up with a theme. Sistine said, "Stop shrugging your shoulders at me. I hate it. I hate the way you shrug all the time." And that made Rob remember Willie Mae saying that when he shrugged, he looked like a skinny bird trying to fly. It struck him as funny now. He laughed out loud at the thought of it, but without asking him what he was laughing about, without dropping his hand, without stopping. Sistine laughed too. Then Rob remembered the name of the feeling that was pushing up inside him, filling him full to overflowing. It was happiness. That was what it was called. So right now, you guys are going to talk in your classroom about what the possible life lesson might be. You can also discuss, why did the author include this? Go ahead and pause while you do that. All right, welcome back. Hopefully you came up with some solid life lessons. Here are some ones that Mrs. Barnes thought of. Laughing makes things seem not so bad. Happiness helps you heal. Others can help you heal. And these are just to name a few. Hopefully you had a couple. What I'll do is I'll ask each classroom to share one big life lesson they can take away from this passage and the other passage we read when they connected them. So, independently, here's what your job is today. Today and every day, when you read, you have to connect the events that happen in the story and think how they impact your life. Not just our characters, but yours, right? They aren't individual pieces. It's kind of like a puzzle, right? All those pieces fit nicely together to come up with that big lesson. Now, there are going to be multiple lessons in the story. We're looking for one of them. As long as you can back it up with evidence, you are golden. So be ready to name at least 2 parts from your book that connected and try and determine what life lesson they are teaching you. This is what your Reader's Notebook post should be about today. You may have multiple posts on this. What you're going to do after you write in your Reader's Notebook is I want you to think about, hey, how am I doing as far as my criteria for success? Am I able to recognize character traits? Am I able to determine the change? How about why a part was included? How about the theme? And am I using text details to support my thinking? If you're answering no to those, you really need to start talking to Mrs. Barnes and saying, I need help. All right, your job is to go read some nice fiction and think about your characters, but also think about those connecting pages. I will just zoom back here. This is what your independent work is today. Good luck.